When mother of two, Nancy Howery, went missing, investigators pursued a few theories that would explain the disappearance. He's thinking behind it, and we could have. He knew that he would drive her crazy. He knew that. I don't know what happened. I feel in my heart that I'm expecting her to show up. I am truly expecting her to show up, but I don't know. Eventually, a single suspect emerged. What investigators uncovered after that was a horror no one had been expecting. It is. Hi there, I'm Kevin, and welcome to Just Thought Lounge. Today's case is elaborate and disturbing. We begin with a mystery, though after investigators hit on the right lead, it unraveled very quickly. The evidence leads us down an unsettling path of murder and a brutal attempt to conceal the truth. Let's take a look. Nancy and Todd Howery spent most of their 16-year-long marriage in California. Todd worked in tech, earning a good living. The two developed a real estate portfolio with properties across the country, including in Florida. The couple had two children, a daughter and son, roughly 2 years apart. They shared family vacations with Nancy's parents, who had emigrated from Brazil. Nancy posted videos to her YouTube channel, mostly in her native tongue, Portuguese, showing their happy family, the children playing, her advice for baking, reviews for the best toys to pack while traveling. Nancy and Todd had what was ostensibly a very happy and comfortable domestic life in California. In 2019, however, cracks were forming in the marriage. Todd had suspicions that his wife may be having an affair while staying at a duplex they owned near Palm Bay. His suspicions seemed warranted. The relationship disintegrated rapidly, and Nancy filed for divorce. Though it was finalized in 2020, animosity between the couple remained as they settled into a new routine in Florida. By 2023, they were sharing custody of the kids, now 13 and 11 years old. Their arrangement meant that they traded off days, dropping off and collecting their children from school, as well as splitting the time they spent together on the weekends. On February 16th of that year, Nancy did not arrive at the school to collect her children. When Todd was notified of this by school authorities, he was perplexed, but not worried. He did not think very highly of his ex-wife's parenting abilities in general. On February 17th, however, for the second day in a row, Nancy failed to turn up on her scheduled day to collect her son and daughter. Collecting the children from school is not the type of task that can be
Hello,
delayed,
Alexa.
unlike other crucially important tasks, which so many of us avoid doing, like finally booking a doctor's appointment.
I am
Finding
well. Thank you for asking. Happy
emergency
Sunday. Technically, happy
or
Monday, depending on where you are. Thank you for the thumbs up.
answer guilt.
Jake.
Now I know that the reason for my procrastination is
Get what?
thanks to the sponsor of today's video, ZocDoc. You can find an appointment quickly and
I'm
easily.
like, get what?
ZocDoc is compare local in-network
Hey, Jake.
doctors. You can see actual appointment
That's more like
playing phone tags. No hassle. Appointments
speechless.
happen fast, usually within 24 to 72 hours. And you
Alexa. Oh my God.
ZocDoc
Girl, this all you ain't the same.
I was searching for a new doctor. It was difficult to know where to start. So for weeks, I just put it to the
Kevin, the
bottom
thumbs
of my
up.
to-do list. If only I had known
Girl,
about
that's all you
ZocDoc
ain't the same.
services,
Oh my God.
I could have searched over 150,000 providers within 200 plus specialties across the country. Detailed doctor profiles and reviews from real patients would have allowed me to identify the right doctor for me.
Oh,
Don't keep procrastinating
oh,
like I did.
who is that with the engagement? Oh my God.
I know it may seem small, but
Somebody was trying to get my attention. Thank you for the engagement. I so very appreciated. Fix your screen, Kevin. Is it better?
18th, Todd filed a missing persons report with the Indian Harbor Beach Police, the authority where Nancy had been rented, roughly 10 miles northeast of Palm Bay. The next morning, the case saw its first lead.
Uh-oh.
Nancy's vehicle was located, seemingly abandoned, on the side of Oakleaf Street near Platte Avenue in southeast Palm Bay. Officer Press made contact with the individual who had reported the vehicle as suspicious. He learned it had been parked slightly askew in the same location for approximately 4 or 5 days. No one had seen the individual who left it there, and there appeared to be no cameras capturing its arrival.
Know anything about this vein down here?
No, it was down there for days.
Days?
Days.
Like how many days? Can you guess?
Um,
3?
about a week. Yeah,
So over last weekend it's been there?
yeah.
Okay. Has it moved at all? Or just sitting in that same?
Hold on just a second. Child, it was so much, what's going on. It was noise outside. And I was like, I hear over in the back. Thinking he had to pee. He just bothering me. Um,
And that's why at the first time when I had recognized, I said, well, maybe somebody told somebody on our street, that they, saying left it there. And it was like, but nobody, I talked to them and said, no, nobody said nothing. And I thought maybe somebody was sleeping in there in the back. So,
look at my child.
It had been days since anyone had seen or heard from Nancy. As far as it could be ascertained, the 14th, Valentine's Day, Nancy messaged with her children and spoke with their family. The next morning, a Wednesday, was the last time that her phone connected to the network. Officer Press reported back to the Indian Harbor police sergeant, who was, at that time, overseeing the investigation.
So we got a call about a suspicious vehicle, which comes back to your guys' signal 8, Nancy. Okay. Basically what the complainant said is that the vehicle has been sitting here since, Tuesday, February 14th, which I see was the day of the last contact with her. And it's basically just been sitting here unoccupied, untouched, unmoved, since then. And nobody saw anybody get out of it, nobody in or around it.
What investigators knew at that time
Right.
had been primarily provided to them by Todd Howard,
Right.
who was less than generous in his characterization of his ex-wife.
Right.
So,
Oh,
remained
not less than generous.
mother of his children.
Good.
People complaining. And he's known as a breaker. He's known to go on vendor and become a here. He's been with that type of kids. I mean, when I tell you everybody comes in full of the cucumber yesterday, you would have thought the mom would sit down for your papa.
Oh,
I want to be that agency on the, on the local news, officers sat on their hands for a week while this, was a hot incident.
Yeah, so
Additional officers arrived to help canvass the area where the van was located. With each observation, the situation was growing increasingly more suspicious.
how so?
in it, I mean, it looks like there's a driver's license sitting on the front seat, but it's turned over. A bank card on the front seat.
sure, shit ton of food and water in here. Like a bunch, and a bunch of beans. Definitely clearly homeless. No, and she clearly is ran away or got groceries and something has happened.
Yeah.
I wonder, this looks like.
'Cause they said that it's, I talked to her. She said that she hasn't seen anyone in or around the car since she's been here.
Her bag is in there. Yeah, it looks like she's went and got groceries and then something happened.
Yeah, that paper is on her.
There, everything. Dry beans, canned beans.
Answer is going weird.
Yeah.
While the officers continued to search and speculate, detectives were busy learning everything they could about Nancy, primarily through their conversations with her ex-husband, Todd Howery.
He drinks like no one everything. Well, so you guys similar. And so when she didn't pick the children up for the second day, I went out to the Brevard County Sheriff's, the bookings site, because that's where he's been arrested, like, currently on probation, all this, okay? And, it's not out of the norm, almost. It's a little long, but out of the norm. I expected her to be, turns out something. When was the last time you spoke with her? That would have been the day. Same day? We don't talk. Okay. We don't have talk. Texting is, you can see our texting. Our texting is, you're old and fat, you're gonna die soon, and, I say you're drunk and you're unfit mom, So you guys haven't texted or talked since December, is that correct? No, that's not correct. No. So when was the last time you guys actually texted each other? Those are the last text messages, okay? You can see that. They're basically, those two are the ones that I'm basically saying, please contact us.
Okay, so
It was,
January 20th,
January 20th was the last time,
7:55 in the morning.
right? And you can just see the hostility and vitriol between the two of us,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
February 16th, I see that you tried to text her saying contact them, it's not fair.
right?
Okay, and then yesterday, again, please let us know what's going on with kids miss you. Okay.
I actually, this morning was the first time that as I was driving down the road, I was looking at homeless people to see if maybe somehow she's just,
Officers made their way into the woodland lining the road where the van was found. Based on Todd's assessment of Nancy's binge drinking and her vehicle's proximity to a known homeless encampment, it seemed a possible lead to locate the mother of two.
Just beware for needles and stuff. Pomade puddings. It's you don't have to announce stuff until you see a can.
what even happened? At this point, I don't know. I don't know what happened to her. I mean, if you had it, you know her past, you know her better than we do. You know her. What do you think in your heart of hearts? You never lost what happened. I would like to say that I feel in my heart that I'm expecting her to show up. I am truly expecting her to show up. But I don't know. At this point, this is ridiculously long.
I started to talk to their press again.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. So they got no luck over at that homeless camp.
That's my eight.
Yeah.
Okay. I got Mike to take everyone out. He's got your number. I appreciate what you guys did today.
I tried a ton.
No, send the detective out. Excuse me. We're gonna need a detective for this one. Thank you. Oh, that's your ace in the hole. Hold up. She just wanna do whatever she wanna do today. I got it.
Detectives were not only speaking with Todd Howery,
Ooh,
they also made contact with Nancy's mother, Maureen. Maureen told detectives that if Nancy was the victim of foul play, she knew exactly who they should be looking for.
come on, mom, dukes.
Nancy's husband, Todd.
Oh,
Their divorce had been ugly, and she was convinced he wanted to hurt her further. But Maureen also acknowledged that Nancy had other men in her life.
right.
Two names emerged, Matthew and Daniel.
When was the last time they were supposed to meet, Matthew and her?
One girl told me that she just went crazy and she got drunk and set up on 5 meetings today. I'm going on my third one right now. One of them was Daniel, one of them was Matthew, and then the other ones were some friggers off of Timber or whatever that station's called.
Tender.
She drinks.
Right.
Monster is her husband who drove her crazy.
Uh-oh.
That's not Daniel.
Thinking behind it, because he could have paid off his side.
Ooh.
He knew it. And then she would go to him, or he knew the boyfriends that she had before. Everything she got from work was going into lawyers, and he knew that. He destroying her, that monster.
Uh-oh.
Well, ma'am, like I said, we've been looking into this. We're looking into everybody. I also don't want to look into the wrong people.
Todd Howery's alibi for the time of his ex-wife's disappearance was verified. Phone data was checked. Investigators sourced store security footage, placing him where he said he was. Despite what was undeniably a hostile relationship, Todd Howery was eliminated as a suspect.
Okay. Right. I'm like, come on, mom, with the facts.
Investigators found that she had arrived at the home of a friend, Iana Ramos, that morning.
Iana.
Some- The two had coffee and chatted in their native Portuguese, but Nancy had been distracted. She was receiving messages on her phone from one of the men she had been seeing. His name was Daniel Stearns.
And her friend was over there, and she made some coffee and stuff, and then the phone started to die, so she plugged it in, she stood there texting with Daniel while talking to her. Okay, this is Nancy, correct? Yeah. Okay, and what were they saying as they communicated? On Valentine's Day, they were together and they got into an argument. Okay. And they were just trying to resolve the issue. Her and Daniel? Her and Daniel were just trying to talk it over and resolve the issue.
Iana could not recount exactly what was said between Nancy and Daniel, though her friend had told her that they were making up from an argument held the day before. Nancy said that she was happy again and ready to continue with Valentine's Day plans that had been interrupted by their quarrel. She left in her van around midday to meet with Daniel. That was the last time Nancy was seen or heard from.
Who the hell is Daniel?
Investigators conducting the original investigation had already spoken with 32-year-old Daniel Stearns on February 19th, the same day that the van was found abandoned on Oakley Street. At that time, Daniel told police that he had not seen or spoken with Nancy in weeks. Nancy's friend, as well as her phone data, said otherwise. Detectives from the sheriff's office decided to pay Daniel another visit.
Another visit.
Hey, Howard here, the sheriff's office. I know, I think Palmer came out to you and spoke to you previously about Nancy. Do you remember what that was about?
Yeah, just ask me where it was, spoken to her.
Okay.
Okay, ponytail.
He's taking over the case, and the actual one working it, so I figured I'd come talk to you just to see what you know. I don't know what information you would have. From what I understand, I guess you guys are friends, is that right?
Yeah, like I told the last guys, yeah, had we fallen out. We were, seeing each other, every once in a while.
Okay.
It worked well.
Who is that in the bag?
When-
Who is that in the bag? I can't see, but who is this? Who mama this is in the background? Listening to him slap on his leg and thigh. No, he lying. It don't even take all that. Look, look, look. I bet she got her hands on the. I can't see.
I wanted to just,
Slap your thigh one more time.
completely fall out, delete numbers. I think I blocked the numbers as well.
I can't take this thigh slapping.
32-year-old U.S. Army veteran who served in Afghanistan.
Thank you for your service.
Met the 44-year-old mother of two.
40. Never.
For 2 years earlier. Accounts of their relationship differ, though the two were definitely romantically involved in those 2 years.
Oh, she got her hands in her pocket. Okay. Okay, peach shirt. What is that? Olive green pants? Little watch? Shades? It's giving Mom Dukes for sure.
According to Daniel,
Look how cool she's standing there. He lying. You know, Mom's always lying. He lying, child.
Before she went missing, because, amongst other reasons, Nancy had failed to follow relationship rules.
Oh,
Not looking, not,
Lord, watch the mother in the back. That's whose body language you need to watch. Look.
relationship rules where that. So,
Look. Thigh slap.
I don't like continuing. It's not good for me.
You wasn't following
Thigh slap.
both of you or just her?
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want someone to go through the event.
Yeah. Okay. And how did you guys speak? Over the phone?
Yeah.
Did you guys text?
Ooh.
Call,
Ooh.
Face,
Ooh.
Snapchat?
Snapchat. Oh, like no. She called me from different types. It was either WhatsApp,
Okay.
Daniel was quick to inform detectives that he had deleted his messages with Nancy after their falling out. He had also deleted his Snapchat
Oh,
account, though he later reinstalled the app and began using it under a new account. Due to data concerns.
oh,
More concerning to investigators was Daniel's prior assertion to the Palm Bay PD that
right.
he had not
Several weeks. Right.
that she was arranging to meet with him the morning that she disappeared.
Mhm.
Once again, Daniel was questioned about his last interaction with the mother of two.
Child, you better stop lying.
19th, you said about a week before that?
Uh,
Yeah. Some days,
he lied.
You said about how many days?
Oh,
half a week.
Okay.
half.
What was your Snapchat?
Ooh. Look at the mother in the back with them hands. And first of all, them some cool pants.
Good vibe.
That thigh slapping is. Whew.
5?
Yeah.
Okay. Um. So you last saw her about a week prior to them coming out, or you spoke with her. Is that correct? Or did you see her?
The well, yeah, about the Snapchat. Yeah, of course, yeah, Snapchat's the weird. So, yeah, Snapchat.
He just breezed over the question. Completely, he was like, I can't remember what I just said 5 minutes ago to that. So, about the Snapchat, yeah,
Here. Oh, okay.
Daniel was then asked a similar question to the one posed to Todd days before.
ooh,
What do you think happened to Nancy?
somebody
Whereas
just asked him.
and struggled to make sense of her disappearance. Ex-boyfriend Daniel instead offered up a suspect,
Ooh,
another boyfriend. He told investigators that she had a history of domestic abuse incidents in one of her prior relationships, and that she was still actively meeting new men on Tinder.
Do you know what could have happened to her?
Well, like I said, before the guy who was registered, who was very likely registered a domestic violence case against her, he would tell me that he would be stalking her.
Okay.
And I think I remember her calling, police telling the police about it, saying she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to go ahead and just add that to the list now. Cause I mean, he can't even help it at this point. That thigh slapping is, and I think it's because the jeans. Like those jeans is really like, but he's just doing it so excessively. Oh,
Times and that she should want to see because
look,
I mean
look.
that's pretty much all I have about him.
Him who?
When did she tell you this information?
Right. Oh,
Oh, yeah, it's definitely over a year ago from when I last saw her.
he is kicking dirt and
Yeah, um, that she told me about him. Yeah, in some months, yeah.
you she's so cool in the back. Oh my goodness. I like her. I like her. She one of the mamas that it depends on if they leave, if they let them go back in the house or if they arrest them on the spot. We'll see. She one of the mamas that'll come back in, open the door for you, close the door behind you and stuff, and just slap you right in the face. All that lie.
Like the duration of the relationship. When I
And how cool she is in the bag.
Had a physical altercation with.
What? Uh-oh. Her head came up.
Yeah, that was his accident.
Cut that radio down.
The police.
Cut that radio down. Come on down to the station.
See, Cinder, do you know if she would contact him before the last day, says few days prior to you guys kind of put it out? If she was talking on through Tinder or anything else?
I say she was back to practice.
Like, well, what makes you say that?
It's because she was so,
She was showing you.
well, like telling,
She was, how was she telling you?
just saying, there's pretty much that she's gonna be on it because I'm not talking to her.
Did she mention specifically anybody she was talking to on Tinder to you?
Yeah, no names.
No name.
It's not surprising that Daniel's conversations with the Brevard sheriffs did little to alleviate their suspicion.
Right.
He swiftly became the main suspect in Nancy's disappearance. A
Swiftly.
surveillance operation was set up to track the veterans' movement. The hope
Uh-oh.
was that Daniel would lead them to Nancy.
Great job, officers. Great job.
Purchases were scrutinized. Store security footage from Walmart, Hobby Lobby, and other businesses.
Shout out to Hobby Lobby. They don't ever get no you know, Walmart is number one. Then you got Home Depot coming in at number two. Hobby Lobby. Okay. What are we getting from Hobby?
Investigators also sought camera footage from the CVS pharmacy where Yana believed the two were planning to meet on the 15th. They found nothing of relevance there, however. A BP gas station receipt was located in Nancy's vehicle, showing a transaction from earlier that day. That footage was gone by the time officers sought it out. Other footage, however, would prove crucial in locating the missing mother.
Let's go. I'm here for it, my love. We're gonna find you, Nancy, wherever you are. We're gonna find it's been damn near a week. Mm. Must have had something to do with that Afghanistan.
Routinely captured by traffic cameras driving in the direction of an area of undeveloped land in the southwestern corner of Palm Bay, known as the Compound. The roughly 12 square mile area has a decades-long history of being used for criminal activities,
Uh-oh.
drug dealing, illegal dumping, and homicides.
Special workshop will be held to address an area of Brevard County known as the Compound. Question 2's Tony Atkins is live in Palm Bay this morning. And Tony, this is an area that's drawn a lot of attention lately due to mysterious murders.
That's
In the
correct.
early morning hours, March 9th, surveillance units watched as Daniel placed an unknown item in his truck bed, handled a shovel, and moved in and out of the truck several times. Shortly after, he left his home and began heading southbound towards the Compound. Officers called in the assistance of the Star Unit, who tracked the vehicle in a helicopter from a distance of a few miles away and several thousand feet in the air. Ground units coordinated from below.
Yeah, we go south on whatever letters. Well, we should turn it out.
Okay, we get it. Cut it down and scoop it from the mic. You don't see this chopper hovering over you? I mean, they followed you from the house. You just was like, "Ugh, never mind. Let him finish."
So you to the east. Oh, where else?
Right. Not hope.
The officers observed Daniel park his truck at multiple locations, occasionally leaving the vehicle. At Alcova Street, within the Compound, Daniel appeared to exit the vehicle and walk roughly 50 feet into the woodland. The Star Unit struggled to stay far enough away to
Right.
prevent the sound of the helicopter
Right.
from reaching the ground,
Ooh.
while maintaining a clear line of sight. They also faced another challenge. They were running very low on fuel.
Okay, you're right. Let me just relax. This is sophisticated. What they call it again? This is, I thought he did say several. Did it say several miles away? This is sophisticated technology here.
Just north of Alcova. That's better.
I think we got, what's that called? Is that heat? Is that heat detection? It's not night vision, I believe. Is that? Hold on.
Well, stay here much longer. We're running pretty low on fuel.
Just as Daniel appeared to access the items from his truck bed and carry them into the woods, the aerial surveillance was forced to leave to refuel. Officers on the ground, however, continued to track Daniel.
Get out of here. We need to take a little tolerate out of the vehicle. We'll be able to get higher. Still 2 miles out, almost 3,000 feet.
2 miles. That's crazy. To be that far away and still can see him. I think this is heat. This isn't it's giving night vision, but this is some sophisticated.
Yeah, probably like, oh, you're clear to go.
Oh, it's night vision. Okay, go, go. In my nose.
See it in a shell, and he's walking into the Northwood line currently. Looks like a second to the path. He's about 55 feet into the North line.
Look at him calling out these coordinates.
In the woods. While the helicopter was refueling, units on the ground tracked him to 2 additional locations in the woodland near Morey Court and Sospel Avenue. By the time the aerial surveillance returned, he was parked by a canal and appeared to be carrying something.
Yeah. Had the male walk out of the woods to the south
Oh.
there.
Ooh.
From a distance of roughly 3 miles,
Right.
it was unclear what Daniel was carrying.
That's crazy.
He seemed to be making trips from his truck to the
Fuel.
woods and then disposing of items in the water.
Gas. Oh.
So he southbound into that we're line.
3 miles away.
It is kind of followed and did it looks like he might be putting something in the water. It's really hard to tell. We're about 3 miles out.
After hours of observation, the decision was made to move in and arrest Daniel Stern.
Why y'all taking that long?
To dispose of further, potentially crucial evidence.
It took long enough. We coming in high.
I got you guys.
He ain't even running. Look how cool he is when everybody pull it. Look at how, oh, hands up. Oh, put your hands up. You right. He was so cool about it though. Turn around, put your hand. Look, look. Turn around. Knees. Get out. You got anything or you like a stick?
A police dog trained in detecting human remains
Yeah.
alerted to 5 spots in the compound on March 9th. Alcova Street, where Daniel had first exited his truck, then near Morey Court, followed by a spot of dirt near a dead end on Sospel Avenue. Tito also alerted on the banks of the canal, where they speculated that Daniel had been washing out a bucket just before his arrest.
I told.
And finally, the truck's tailgate.
Oh,
Yeah, well, that's well, Yeah, lead guy for will give you right off your nose.
This is a pretty interesting spot. I'm glad that he gave me some color, some exposure, some brilliance, or something so I can see. Oh, interesting. The compound.
There's like something on the disc line, I can't tell what it is, but something reflected.
Oh, I see.
Yep, that right there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
This is where he was, right in the water right here. Rinsing something out.
Near the water, teams found a sandal type shoe and noted sand indentations consistent with the bucket's curvature. Dive teams then searched in the lake area, though they ultimately came up empty handed. Over 800 fragments of bone, teeth, bird skin, as well as a middle finger were recovered from the scattered remains across the 4 identified areas of the compound. Much of what was discovered showed evidence of burning, consistent with a burn pile spotted from the air. The remains had been exposed for days, which made a DNA match challenging. Nonetheless, the medical examiner was able to reach a conclusion. The scattered remains were indeed those of 44-year-old Nancy Howery.
Nancy. Because you cheated on your husband. Just let her finish.
I'm sure.
See what I mean?
Individual did a search warrant last night at his location, at his house. Recovered multiple bombs. It actually burned the body in an effort to destroy any possible evidence.
Daniel Stearns was taken into the station
So-
for questioning. Just over 4 minutes after the interview commenced, Daniel
Lawyer.
began talking.
Oh,
Yeah. We wouldn't be sitting right here if we didn't.
exactly. Thanks. Other than the why, if you one of them type of criminals, you know, if you're one of those type of criminals, we would like a little why. Other than that, we pretty much got everything we need. So if you want to get to the why, please, by all means, enlighten us. Other than that, don't sit here wasting my time because I don't have time for this. Not 14 seconds of silence. So, are we not in Florida? That's the best you could do. It was self-defense. Retired from He served in Afghanistan.
Was taking her to the compound and teach her how to shoot. Got there. In the middle of me showing.
So what was all that rah-rah you was talking about in front of your mama?
She goes for my gun. She nearly gets a hold of it. She fails the first time and she goes absolutely berserk, not wanting to take a loss very acid. Get into a gravel. She even spits on my hand. After multiple times, I couldn't take the chance again. What are you saying, she? Who is she?
Mm-mm. That phone notification was on point. Is anybody?
From Nancy. Okay. Yep.
Say her name. It's gotta be the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. Not the stupidest, because that chick who had ran the dude over, I didn't heard, you know, they get in the interrogation room and they just think that you go there to teach her how to shoot and then she reach for you. You would have been better off just saying a lawyer because I don't have time for this.
Daniel Stearns was
Look.
12 years younger than Nancy Howard.
Exactly.
He weighed just over 200 pounds compared to Nancy's 150. The war veteran was a trained fighter, and he had boxed regularly in the Army. He told detectives that he was familiar with Aikido, a martial art meant to teach self-defense techniques. Nonetheless, he claimed to have had no choice but to kill Nancy. He told them he fired a single shot to her head. He did so after she caught him off guard and attacked him. According to Daniel, the mother of two was trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
But you being a 205 guy or 5-pound guy with. She was in my face. She was never far apart. She spat on my hand and grappled. Okay. Tried to go for a fight, couldn't make it. That's why she did it. What is the spit in the hand? What is?
Because you done said it 2 times and you just keep trying to make that a thing. She spit on my hand. She spit on, like, why you keep saying that?
What? Okay. So was your gun slipping? It was. Okay. So you were able to have your gun. It was slipping, but you had it the entire time during this physical altercation. And at what
And
point did you? Done.
I'm gonna shoot you in the head.
It seriously felt like my last resort.
After Daniel shot Nancy, he took steps to hide her body. His distrust of law enforcement led him to the conclusion that he had no choice but to conceal her death or be blamed for her murder. Daniel carried Nancy into the woods and left her on the ground. Later, he returned and buried the body. Daniel said he then returned a second time, removed her from the ground, and used his truck to take the remains to a different part of the compound, where he doused her body in lighter fluid and set a fire. Days later, now under surveillance, he went back once more, gathered the evidence into buckets, which he then scattered in various locations. The bucket that he washed in the water was full of nothing but ash, he said. He had burned everything. In his truck, police found 2 shovels, gloves, a headlamp, and a tarp.
Bodies where you were looking. Didn't find anything. What do you mean? It's because I burned her.
You telling us what we didn't find?
So when you shot her, you put her into the woods originally. I did bury her after some days. To burn her.
Unearth her?
Daniel Stearns was charged with second-degree murder. Body tampering with evidence.
Second.
Not guilty. Daniel's claim of self-defense, however, was abandoned. His story had changed once again.
Oh,
Attorneys
again.
successfully argued that Daniel's
See?
Miranda rights violated his final interview. For all of the details offered to defense, his struggle with Nancy over the gun, shooting her once in the head, and then many attempts to hide her body were not admissible. Indeed, Daniel had not been read his rights until after he offered many of these details. When the case went to trial in the autumn of 2025, there was no mention of a confession of any kind. Daniel's attorney argued simply that his client had not killed Nancy.
Nancy Howard, 44-year-old divorced mother of 2 children, was last seen alive on February 15th, 2023.
She don't believe shit she's saying. But she gotta do her job. I'm sorry, this is the prosecutor. I thought this was the defense. My bad. My bad.
Prosecutors
My
told
bad.
the
My
jury
bad.
Nancy argued on Valentine's Day. His online activity showed him searching for violent content. From the website alivegore.com,
Don't
he
tell
was
it.
finding uncensored reviews, murders, executions. His search terms included woman dies of stab wounds, uncensored videos murders, and perhaps most revealing, the fast way to give a lesson in Brazil. In the days following Nancy's death, he was searching for news stories about murders that occurred at the compound and bodies that had been located there. He searched for missing persons in Palm Bay
Classic.
first time, and he searched Amazon to locate butane torches, a purchase consistent with his aim of setting his former girlfriend's body aflame. The state argued that after months of dating, Daniel expected Nancy to stop seeing other men.
Oh,
They believed that he revealed more than he told us that she would not follow his relationship rules. Whether Nancy went willingly with Daniel to the compound that day was uncertain, though the haphazard way in which she left her van, her groceries in the back, and personal items scattered across the front seat suggested she may have been forced. Either way, Daniel took her to an isolated location, all the while carrying his loaded Glock 17, later loaded inside his bedroom in his parents' house.
it is damn mama hot 30.
His defense gave no opening statement
No,
and called no witnesses.
of course not.
A new theory was put to the jury.
Again?
Nancy could have shot herself. No one could know exactly how she sustained the gunshot wound to her head. There were no other witnesses, and the physical evidence painted an ambiguous picture.
He just don't know what to do.
Shot her in the head. We've heard no testimony. He ever shot her. We've heard nothing about the shooting. We've heard that there is what Dr. Walshaney says is consistent with the gunshot. The gunshot exit-wound, but not that he ever did anything. Not a single witness has ever said that he shot her. Because it's consistent with her shooting herself. It's consistent with an accident. It's consistent with any number of other events. And
Don't do no any number of. This ain't no any number of, sir.
the state must prove what happened.
We did already. We did.
The defense conceded that Daniel had chosen to cremate Nancy after her death and scatter her ashes. They disputed the assertion that he dismembered her, and that just because he took these steps after the fact, that it meant he had killed her. The jury returned with the verdict.
Guilty. Ugh, guilty.
All counts.
Oh. I don't even know why y'all gave him second.
Todd Powery spoke to the court before sentencing.
Look at Todd. Don't get up here now with that remorse after all that. She's a sloppy drunk.
Judge that because the crime was so savage and
Yeah,
violent,
yeah.
he believed strongly that his children would have been at risk had they been with their mother when
Wow.
Daniel Stearns decided to kill her.
Wow.
What happened? Took away my children's mom,
Exactly.
took away Nancy from her life, and took away Maureen's only child, the daughter.
Bingo, Maureen.
I have, without any doubt in my mind,
Look,
that my Nancy,
look how he looking. Look at
she was supposed to come up from school that day.
right.
To my children as to Nancy.
Ooh,
I have found out. You don't slaughter a human being and say, "Oops, forgot about these two."
Daniel Stearns was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I'm just making
He
sure.
also received 2 concurrent sentences of just over 22 years for his actions after the murder,
Mm.
abuse of a dead human body, and tampering with evidence.
Look,
He is currently serving his sentence at the Suwannee Correctional Institution in Live Oak, Florida.
look, get out of here. Get your the story just kept changing and kept changing and kept changing and kept changing. I'm like, I don't even know what to say about that guy there. I have no idea what to say. Shout out to Kevin. He did drop this yesterday. Clearly, I could have watched it yesterday on my day off, but I decided, you know what? I'm gonna save that for True Crime Sunday. I'm gonna save that for True Crime Sunday. It did have a different thumbnail, I believe. Um, okay, so yeah, we'll probably have to catch up with Gabe on another day because he got the little loyalty test going through. However, I thought I had dropped another one. The OnlyFans model. Let me go check and see what she is. I don't want to watch that one just yet. It's the OnlyFans model that we had saw earlier that week. Because you know he dropped 2 every week. Ugh, it'd be hard to keep up with him. Um, but I remember seeing it Monday and I was like, "Ooh, I got a long way to wait." So let's go ahead and see what happened to the OnlyFans model. Shout out to OnlyFans. Ooh,
Thanks, Adrian.
it be hot over there.
Callum. Callum has been our video producer for the last 4 years,
Callum.
believe it or not. 2022.
Are they a couple? Is it giving couple vibes?
Not involved. But yeah, he hasn't been in front of the camera before, so thought I'd introduce you guys to him.
Oh,
Hopefully, not just through pictures. We've actually just finished our first event at CrimeCon 2026, Las Vegas. Been an incredible experience, I think. It was absolutely amazing to catch up and meet other creators and podcasts.
I wonder did Giles go? Because he usually does go, but I know he ain't in the States no more.
A lot of you guys that came to see us. Couldn't believe how
Adrian is in Australia.
few there were. And yeah, also to perform live in front
I have to go one year. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go. You never hear about it. Like, there don't be no promo. You don't get no emails and stuff. Hey, crime gone. I have to put it on my calendar. It's just usually around the same time. I'm gonna have to go.
guys.
It'll be
Yeah,
fun. Vegas. Look, yeah.
it was a terrifying experience. I was shaking. I was too. Well, you were trying to play it cool. I was just open with my feelings. I was just like, dude, I don't know if I can do this.
I thought if I pretended to not be nervous, then hopefully it would be contagious, but I'm not sure if that works.
A lot of good comments. Yeah, the Q&A after was really good too. That was a lot of fun. And I wanted to thank everybody who dropped by the stall, came to say hi, and also just to be able to talk to people, to get to know other creators and podcasters, and as well as everyone who came to see us. Also wanted to say thank you to everybody who watches Coffee House Crimes.
For sure.
Genuinely, there are no words. You know, without you guys, we would be nothing. And yeah, this is only the beginning, I think, for Coffee House Crime.
100%.
Yeah, but I think in the meantime, we'll play this video for you. And once again, thank you.
So we'd like to grab yourself a coffee. Let's caffeinate while we investigate. This is the case of Courtney Clenny.
He's always wanted to say that.
Yeah, look, that's a couple. They give couple vibes. Courtney Clenny. Shout out to OnlyFans. Shout out to OnlyFans. OnlyFans be paying the bills. Yeah, I better stop playing.
Paris, stick with you because of the vibe.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna promote mine.
Paris stories that stay with you because of what else they reveal.
Uh-oh.
And today, we're about the story of Courtney Clenny and Christian Obi-Selling, which is one of those cases.
Who is this?
Because on the surface, the story looks almost ridiculous, right? You know, you got
Oh, this is the one that they did at the crime con, whatever you wanna call
influencers,
on
trade
stage.
partners, the kind of stuff that you scroll past every day.
At first glance, it almost looked like just another wild story from the internet, right? Because there are plenty of those. But this is one of those stories that really gets underneath your skin. When I first covered this case on YouTube in January of 2020,
I remember this story. It's something about this outfit and her downstairs talking. I remember this.
think become one of those stories that I think about month in and month out because there is so much to this one. It involves allegations of domestic abuse, deceitful facades on social media, and ultimately the death of a 27-year-old man named Christian Novoselic. Before we go any further, I do want to make one thing very clear here that Courtney Clenny has pleaded not guilty, and at the time of this presentation, she still is awaiting trial. So, legally speaking, she is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
I've seen that one. I've seen that one. Um, let me give me a second. I'm gonna go and just give me a second. I done seen that one. That was just that's a really long ago. Like that story is super old. And the fact that she's still awaiting trial is crazy. Like a couple years ago. I ain't even gonna hold you. All right, let me swing over here to Mike real quick. Like,
It was
oh,
2014, the beginning of summer in Iowa. Hot, humid, rain always within some kind of distance. An off-duty police officer arrived from the small city of Boone, getting ready to begin his shift. The roads were quiet, sun just beginning to peek its head. However, as he approached the city of Grimes, which was on the way to Boone, he came across a strange scene. He came across what looked to be, like just off the highway, a car incident. 30 yards off the highway in a ditch lay a red Ford Taurus. Driver's door was open, airbags
excuse me. God, I was all into it.
on his window.
That's a Taurus.
A man emerged from a pitch dark asking for help. He seemed jacked up, adrenaline pounding, likely from the crash he had just been in.
Not Beanin.
Began speaking to this very agitated fella, but something about him was a little off, a little askew. He was one of them.
Askew.
Bitch, his story, made sense. He had nothing wrong in him or on him. Cops called him a cop, sent him on his way. If only they'd known what had just happened 30 minutes earlier, probably wouldn't have done like any of that. But this video would have been a lot shorter if they had. Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike. And in this old video, in a small city in Iowa, there was a love triangle. It didn't end well, if you can believe that. Now, usually when someone says
Do they ever?
maybe angry text message,
Always.
maybe somebody throws a drink. Facebook posts get a little too personal, but not this one. This one ended with a man being stopped, a home invasion in the middle of the night, 4 gunshots to the head, and a killer who spent months trying to create what he probably thought was the perfect murder. We got obsession, jealousy, co-workers at the worst possible time leading to a murder, and maybe framing too. The trifecta of small town. You thought this was a good idea? Were you? Please subscribe to see new stories for the dark every single week. Now, the place rhymes fitting because the cases don't get much dirtier than this. Let's give it a go. So to the town of Grimes, Iowa, we go. And even the name Grimes is not filling me with much enthusiasm. But that's just the feeling, I got from the name of the town. I literally know nothing about it. That was before I learned that Grimes has a suburb of Des Moines. It's the definition of flyover city. But as much as I yuck their yums, it is described as a great place to grow up, calm, good folk. A sleepy town where not much happens, and that ain't a bad thing. And yeah, that about wraps up the local color. So, folks, You know all there is to know about Grimes. Oh wait, did I mention it has not one but two ice cream parlors? Pistachio is the deal breaker. Things were not so sleepy though in early May 2014.
2014.
30-year-old Justin Michael was a native of DeKalb, Illinois, son to parents Weldon and Marie. He worked as an accountant at Wells Fargo, but when he wasn't working, he was outdoors. That's what he was all about. By all accounts, Justin was the type of person people around. People say nice things because they don't want to speak ill of the dead, but this wasn't one of those situations. If there was something outdoors to be done, he would be at it. Sports, travel, or working at Habitat for Humanity, building homes in his spare time for those less fortunate. A good ass dude, you might say, and I will. A man who put his family first. A guy who literally saved his younger sister's life when she got caught in a riptide. And a man who put strangers first with Habitat for Humanity. He put everyone before himself. And our Justin Michael was engaged to be married. Justin had been dating Angie Verheuvel for about a year, and it had been a fast love. They were mad about each other, living together in Michael's home in Grimes come May 2014. The wedding was planned near a beach in North Carolina where Justin's parents owned a big old home. The wedding was for 2 months later, July 2014. Truly, it was like love at first sight for them both. And they were, they weren't doing any tire kicking. They were wasting no time at all. They were engaged 2 months after they first met. I mean, I'm still having trouble from that taco I ate 2 months ago. So, but hey, when you know, you know. Then May 8th, 2014 came along. We're going to get to a killer who left at the scene nothing behind. But only they were using the internet, right? And
NordVPN. I'm like, what just happened? Okay, got it. Hmm. I took a nap today. It was like one of them fell asleep watching Johnny Harris and the Oligarchy. I mean, it was already like almost an hour video, 48 minutes or something like that. Of course, including the commercials. I'm talking about, I tried to watch it last night and I was like, no, I don't have the attention span for it. Tried to watch it again today. I fell asleep. Uh, I mean, maybe like 20, 25 minutes in already. Too much information to be overtaken. I had heard Candace talk about it. She had said that word oligarchy. And I'm like, here we go. Johnny Harris had just dropped a video about it. I'm like, what in the world? Way out of my pay grade. Way out of my pay grade. That's not even monetized on YouTube type lifestyle. Oligarchy. I was like, what in the world? Yeah, oligarchy. I was like, what is that? Ooh, come on.
staying overseas as it was approaching Mother's Day weekend. His dad was on a business trip. His dad was due to be back soon, and with the wedding fast approaching, it was an exciting time for the Michael Van Huel family. It was a quiet night as spring turned to summer, and in the early morning darkness of May 8th, while Justin slept beside the woman he planned to marry, someone was quietly approaching the house. Someone who had spent months growing more and more obsessed. The night of May 7th had been completely ordinary, the wedding just a few weeks away. And as usual, no one ever wakes up and thinks, well, this is the final dinner we'll ever have together. It never happens when you're expecting it. It was just like any other summer night. Till Marie was woken up in her bed at about 3:30 a.m. Marie, his mom, if she was woken up to the sound of the door opening, she was staying in Justin Michael's spare bedroom, and she saw a figure poke the head in. Now, at first, she thought either it's Justin or it's Angie, coming in, maybe just checking on her, maybe grabbing something they left in this spare bedroom. But the person wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at her. It was pitch black. She couldn't make out who this was. Only she began to realize that this person was taller and bigger than her son or soon to be daughter in law were. And the only color she could see was red, a red laser shining on her. She couldn't see his face, she couldn't see his clothes, she couldn't see who this was, just a silhouette and that single red dot. Then the door slowly shut as the intruder moved on. Marie was confused, unsettled, but she had no way of knowing what was about to happen next. Seconds later, Angie also heard her bedroom door open, and then a bang, bang. Angie turned over in bed and saw this dark figure sprinting from the room, and she looked, and she saw her fiance, Justin Michael, head covered in blood. He was dead, and Angie was screaming.
What's your emergency?
He just came in and shot my fiance in the head.
Can you go over and check the status of?
He's dead.
Okay.
I know he is.
So there's no signs of life at all.
Can you go over there and check real?
Worded off the homicide scene. Justin Michael had been shot 4 times in the head as he
He's
slept
dead.
6 inches away. An intruder coming into their home to murder specifically him.
Justin was a really great guy, and he's always been around and always been really active. I think my connection with him for sure was growing up playing basketball, every day, or any sports.
Nathan Michael remembers his brother Justin as a great older brother he could always count on.
Mom was in town this week, and we were doing different activities for Mother's Day.
He was supposed to see Justin Thursday night.
For me, there's a lot of anger that goes with it. The thing that really tears me apart is all the stuff, the future stuff. More so than who did it, is just all the stuff. All the stuff you miss out on, the plans you had over the summer and that kind of thing. So it doesn't really matter who it was, to be honest with you.
In the
Okay.
night, the DVD player was pulled out, and a sweater lay on the floor that was not theirs.
2000.
At first, police were thinking, of course, as you do, was this a burglary gone wrong? Person coming in to steal the absolute treasure that is a old DVD player, and then also leaving their sweater there, which was probably worth more than the DVD player. But if it was a robbery gone wrong, it was a bit of an escalation of a robbery. Was it the wrong house? Or was it, as we've seen time and time again, simply made to look that way? Angie and Marie were taken in, because your also first thought is, did the intruder even exist? This shadowy figure who they could literally tell nothing about. There were no signs of forced entry, no clues to the killer, no evidence left behind. And so, as detectives worked through the crime scene, another reality became impossible for them to ignore. There were only 3 people inside the house when Justin was killed: Justin, Angie, and Marie. The intruder existed according to both surviving witnesses. Homicide detectives are paid to be skeptical.
Describe this figure the best you can.
It was all black. I'd say pretty tall.
When you say black, you're talking black. as in
Everything was black.
Shadowy or a black person?
I don't know. I didn't see any color.
You got two women, you got a son and a fiance, brutally murdered as he was sleeping, shot 4 times in the head at close range. Angie, there was nothing on her. You think there would be blood spatter?
Mm.
Being taken in were completely like emotionless. Now that was likely just down to the shock of witnessing something so horrifying. But investigation, the circle, it does start small and then it goes from a small circle into a bigger circle for you.
Mine actually, you too. And then there was, we looked in on Angie and Justin woke up and he sensed trouble. I don't know. Why not tell Angie?
Did somebody have a grudge against Justin? If you want to wrap your brains, who could that possibly be?
Do you have any suspects, do you think, which?
I have no idea.
Is there anybody
Uh-oh.
harbors any ill toward him?
Not that I know of.
Who in either of your histories might, not be too keen on him?
This morning,
Look.
Justin was and murdered. You wasn't. Bree wasn't. Justin was. Okay? What do you mean second engine? There wasn't a burglary at your home. That takes away the randomness,
Nothing was taken. I mean,
as far as we're aware.
Okay. okay.
Somebody came in there for one sole purpose, and that was to execute him. So, someone was very personal. If for any reason you'd be protecting somebody that you care about, you need to know.
Right.
Because it's not acceptable.
Mm.
Angie had been married once before, but no bad blood there. However, another relationship after the marriage, but before Justin, did have some nasty business. A guy named Andy Wegener. Things had ended not well in this Andy relationship. They had been together for about 3 years. It was serious. They had lived together. Even after they broke up, they kept living together, which, okay, interesting.
But
In fact, about 6 months before this shooting, Angie's car, 3 of the windows had been smashed in, her car had been keyed, there had been a massive dent in the car. Justin's garden had been vandalized. Also, just a few months, so it did seem like somebody had it against Angie and Justin, but keying somebody's car and smashing somebody's window and vandalizing somebody's garden, it's a bit of a to go from that to find and you were dead. Jealousy and obsession is a motive we've seen time and time again. So when you have these two people about to be married, it's likely that somebody was just not a fan of that decision. They weren't too keen on that. I mean, Justin wasn't involved in any drugs. Not that Angie knew. Neither of them were rich. So that rules out drugs and money. And it leaves love. In the hours after a horrifying murder like this, you gotta go to the basic motives. One more basic than who you're smooching with.
Ooh.
Another person she had dated before Justin was a David, but she couldn't remember his surname. And they'd barely dated, so no biggie. When she met Justin, she broke it off with David. Or so she said.
It's not a full-on relationship.
Did you just not remember him when we talked about
Well,
before?
I hadn't. I mean, I had thought about him, but it was kind of like.
One of the first things I'd asked you at the very beginning was who, before Justin, who was your relationship? You said Andy,
Mm-hmm.
and you left Dave out
Right.
fast. Whatever reason, and it doesn't matter at this point either. Is there any possibility that with Dave or anyone else that while you've been with Justin, that you've maintained any relationship with anyone?
It was like a couple of months of hanging out, and it was kind of like here or there, and I feel like
it's a random place to take a drink break.
being very serious with it. His name is Dave.
What's his date?
It'll come to me, I'm sure.
However, she did say that David also didn't take it too well when, she broke it off and she got with Justin. He had sent some nasty text messages. In fact, he even sent her a message saying, "I will be your final rose." like that reality TV show which has roses. I actually don't know which one it is. The internet tells me it's The Bachelor. Pretty weird message though to send to a girl you had barely dated and now is breaking up with you to get with somebody else. Now, David Moffat was the son of a wealthy farmer, but he'd worked these days at Wells Fargo. The sort of guy who kept himself to himself. And at first, it was just another lead, another person to speak with, another name on the ever-growing list. At the time,
Wait,
detectives had
don't
no way
didn't Justin work at Wells Fargo?
placed himself 6 miles from the murder scene. Remember that man by the crashed car? Well, investigators would soon discover he had a connection to the victim, a hell of a connection. The report 4 a.m., an off-duty Boone police officer observed a car in the ditch by Highway 141 near Granger and stopped to render assistance. A person who identified himself as Dave stated he needed a ride. Dave was not wearing a shirt when the officer stopped. Dave first put on a black shirt, then and put on a white shirt. David placed the black shirt in a black case and put the case in the trunk of his vehicle. The officer called dispatch, then left. A Polk County arrived shortly thereafter. The deputy determined Dave was David Moffat. The vehicle was registered to him, and he resided in Pleasant Hill. At that time, Moffat was wearing all white clothes, and particles from weeds were clinging to his clothing. Moffat stated he left his cell phone at home. The deputy and assisted Moffat to call a cab to take him home. Moffat took a cab to Pleasant Hill. So pretty weird that Dave Moffat's car had been impounded after being involved in an accident 30 minutes after the murder in the middle of the night. 6 miles from Justin's house and nowhere near his own house. Suddenly, that wasn't looking so innocent anymore. Small world. Now, at the car crash scene when David had been pulled over after his car had crashed, he was even asked there and then, "Do you know anybody in Grimes?" Because the police officers who responded to the single car incidents, they knew all about the murder. This murder doesn't happen here. So they were like, "Hey, you don't have anything to do with that guy who was just shot in his bed about less than an hour ago, do you?" And David said no, he was visiting his brother. He had no weapons on him. He seemed innocent enough at the time that they let him go. Now, the police were thinking differently. Investigators actually went back to the scene of the car crash upon hearing that it even happened.
Right.
Take a look around. Maybe something had been dumped there.
Mhm.
Perhaps dark clothing. And there they did find some weird things.
Mm.
Loaded magazines that matched the ones used to kill Justin Michael. Earmuffs, camo clothing, and something else. At Dave's car crash scene, in a shoebox, a receipt for an oil change in the name of Andrew Wegener. The scene of one ex's crush, another ex's name. This is all at the very same time as a fiance was murdered.
Friends of 30-year-old Justin Michael tell me he embodied what it means to be Iowa Nights. Michael's life was cut short Thursday morning, shot to death in his Grimes home.
I've known Justin since he moved in, and he's a real friendly guy.
Terry Campbell says waking up to a crime scene just steps from his house left him in shock.
Initial reaction was, what? Are you serious? Really? In Grimes?
A KCCI camera captured Polk County Sheriff's deputies searching fields and ditches along Highway 141 just north of Grimes.
Andy was then taken in. He was questioned. When did you last talk to Angie?
The last time I talked to Angie would have been when?
She sent a text message to me that said, "Happy birthday." I said, "Okay, thanks."
And that was it.
That was it.
When was the last time you were in Grimes?
Oh,
For any reason?
there's a basketball court in the U is what they call it. That was a while ago.
You go shooting at all?
Shooting?
Yeah. Do you have any?
I have a 12 gauge. I haven't shot it in 6 years.
Do you have any hand?
No. Did you get an oil change?
Oh.
He said he did. In fact, his receipt. It's probably in his car somewhere.
If it turned up somewhere else, how would that happen? If it's somewhere else.
Look how he looking.
Right? About it. I don't know.
Any ideas how it could turn up in this investigation?
Now, Andy would say he had spent last night, the night of the murder, at home, you know, with his girlfriend, and she would be able to back up that he was home that night. So maybe he had made sure to get that story straight before the police even called.
What time did you get off work?
Yesterday I got up at 4.
Okay. Can you walk me through what you occurred from 4 o'clock yesterday until we showed up at your doorstep this morning? And you were so thrilled to see us?
But if it was a stolen receipt, random receipt end up where it did. In the meantime, officers searched David Moffat's house. I mean, you got two different dipshits here. Either one could be the killer. In David's house, no weapon, gun, except one thing: a handwritten note. The notes had some weird shit on them. No light on 9:39 p.m. Possible pathway to backyard. Lights on in-house 9:44 p.m. And so it went on. A stalker's manifesto, basically, for Justin Michael's house. He had been watching it, scoping it out, the neighbors' houses, easy ways to get in and out, all of that. They also found a bill of sale for a 5.9mm carbine, 3 magazines, and a red dot scope. They had been purchased about a week earlier, and it was once again in Andy Wegener's name.
What the fuck? And then Andy over here acting like he just
They came to
with these two exes.
same woman. And she was getting married to another guy.
Right.
This is dead. Were they gonna like share about this? She might not like it. Following the bill of sale of the good, it was purchased on armslist.com, a private sale,
Oh.
$350.
Oh,
And police contacting the seller, he said, yep, he sold it to Andy Wegener. He used an Andy Wegener email address, even had photo ID for Andrew Wegener when he asked for it when he was selling the gun.
not Gmail.
The bill of sale later ended
Showed him the picture.
right? Wrong. The seller would be called in, you know, who did you sell?
Right.
And they showed him, you know, a bunch of pictures, right? Included in those pictures was David and Andy. And he pointed to both Dave and Andrew. He said the ID was this guy, Andrew. The actual guy, though, looked a little different, and he was Dave.
Oh my God.
See, the thing was, Dave, same height, same build. They both were gingers, therefore soulless too, despite the lies that they tell. And once investigators realized that, everything started clicking into place. The receipt, the firearm purchase, the false identity, the evidence scattered around the crash site. It wasn't random. It had all been placed there like little crumbs.
Right.
You wanted detectives to follow Andy. You wanted them arresting
Right.
Andy. You wanted everybody looking in the wrong direction. He had spent months working on this. The problem was he wasn't nearly as clever as he thought he was. Because the more evidence detectives uncovered, the more obvious the scheme became. One final thing was that the rifle of this rifle had gone down in a town called Sigourney, which is about 100 miles east of France. Police had also found in David's a receipt for some lemonade purchased in the town. So if they could find footage of that person, tell you who had been in Sigourney that day,
Right.
it was David Moffat. Now, David denied any injuries, and he demanded a lawyer. Regardless, they didn't enough to charge him at this point.
Shout out to Dollar General.
Like the whole time, how did he have Andy's ID then?
Bingo.
If he had been the one using Andy's ID, but he faked. That's it. Police found on David's computer him, like the process of how he made a fake ID in Andy Wegener's name. He was planning on framing Andy for the murder of Justin, framing an old boyfriend for the killing of the new one. And not only that, in the sweater they found in the home, they found a boat registration, the name of which was the father of a local sex offender. Another weird little clue, finding that in the home, it was like he was trying to frame somebody else at the time, a local sex offender. It was like when he went into the house to kill Justin, he was like, "Ah, I'll get you. I'll just leave this here. Hopefully it will go somewhere, maybe." David was trying to throw as much shit at the wall, hoping something would stick. Instead, he just got himself covered in shit. He created fake IDs. He
Is a little confused. because Angie dated Andrew or Andy. Andy, Andrew, you know how they been using it interchangeably. She dated him for like 3 years. And then this Dave dude, she dated him for like a couple months. The math ain't mathing for the obsession. It's just not mathing for me.
Gun under Andy's name. He dropped evidence behind. He left receipts. He left clues. He tried pointing police towards multiple people. That's like movie villain level plan. The amount of effort and time to twiddling of thumbs required to pull this off. I mean, he didn't pull it off, but to even attempt to do so, insane. I mean, honestly, that would help towards an insanity defense. And folks, you got to remember, if you're ever planning a murder, maybe don't Google the murder. David was arrested at his home.
26-year-old David Moffat.
26.
Court appearance this morning, KCCI has learned Michael and Moffat worked together on a consumer lending group finance team with Wells Fargo.
David had been stalking Justin. On his computer, they found Google searches, things police look for, average response time for police in Grimes, Iowa, traffic cameras in Grimes, the perfect murder, do homicide detectives look into mental health, and chances of getting away with murder. The cool thing about this is he learned absolutely jack shit. David had even Googled confession times, so that after the murder, he could go and, just get it off his chest. And then, sure, sort of after that, he'd be golden. Another job well done. See, David had been dating Angie, but it only lasted a couple of months and it never got very, very serious. They would see each other like once a week. But then when Angie met Justin, she ended it with Dave. Dave was not too keen on that. In fact, he would send her loads of messages, some being really bitchy about it. Other times then he'd send her messages being all sweet. I just want you back, babe. But Angie and Justin moved on. Then, get this, David got a promotion. He got a new position at his job in Wells Fargo. David was now joining the very same team Justin worked at. So he was already a bit annoyed to be working closely, like their desks were right beside each other, with the guy who was dating the woman he loves.
What's even weirder is that he ended up working in Justin's department.
I mean, I can think about that. Every morning David walked into work, and there was Justin. Every team meeting, every coffee break, every lunchtime, every conversation he overheard about the wedding, about his relationship with Angie, every reminder that Angie chose someone else. And then one day, Justin comes in and says, "Hey, you won't believe this. We're engaged." David flipped out. In fact, he was so upset he had to be sent home early that day and was later fired from Wells Fargo. He stalked the home, planned on framing someone for the murder, and then on May 8th, he entered Justin's home, shooting him 4 times in the head.
It ain't no other women in Grimes. Y'all ain't got Tinder? It was only a couple months. I don't even know how he just. I think because she broke up with him and got with, but still.
He slept. He ended up crashing his car that night as
Right.
That's the most just ironic part of the story.
Exactly.
Research.
Got into an accident on the way home.
He drove
Crashed the car.
detective work. It was the smallest, stupidest thing ever that caught him. And then dumping all this random crap out in the woods after the crash. I think that makes it just so much more better that after all that time and effort going into framing another man, he didn't need to frame himself as an idiot. He was one. David Moffat went on trial in June 2015. He was, of course, pleading not guilty. By that point, investigators had spent more than a year building their case. He went with an insanity defense, that he was a troubled mind, off his meds, his poor brain. He's the victim here, really. That was literally the defense strategy.
Toward the end, I mean, he's just become I believe, the victim of this manic episode driven by the drugs. It's just not.
That went over like a big pile of shit.
I was gonna say.
Despite arguing for a diminished responsibility defense due to his mental state, the court would find, quote, David could form and did form a specific intent to kill Michael, eroding the viability of the defense. It would be discovered that David had repeatedly sought mental health assistance leading up to the crime, reporting homicidal thoughts. Therefore, he knew what he was doing. He knew he wanted to kill. David had too much going against him, namely, a mountain of circumstantial evidence that all pointed in exactly one direction. The surveillance notes, the fake identification, the firearm purchase, the staged evidence, the internet searches, the crash, the motive, the opportunity. Individually, each piece might be explainable. Together, they painted a very difficult picture to ignore. Even without the murder weapon being found, he was found guilty.
He was already holding his head down.
Without parole.
With
Justin Michael spent his free time building homes for strangers. He saved his sister's life. He was weeks away from marrying the woman he loved. And all of that taken away because one man just, once again, couldn't accept hearing the word no. A man who stalked him, who worked with him every day, who looked him in the face. And then when he heard about the wedding, he threw a hissy fit and spent months planning to murder him. And he did. How David exactly got that old receipt from Andy Wegener, we don't know. He must have been stalking him, just like he was stalking Justin Michael and Angie Fairhewell. David, in the years since, would appeal again and again, most recently in 2025, arguing his trial counsel was ineffective for failing to pursue a diminished responsibility defense. Those appeals were denied. Womp womp for DM. He remains at Anamosa State Penitentiary, likely for the rest of his life. And Shanae.
Shanae.
Murder weapon. He
Right.
probably dumped it in the bushes after he crashed his car. Then he went back to that scene and gathered it and dumped it elsewhere before the police
Came back. Right. Smart.
David probably should have gotten all those other things he left at the scene of the crash too, like the magazines. But maybe he couldn't find them. I mean, he's also a piece of shit, though, so who cares? He's also dumb as shit. I don't like David. Can I be clear with that? A man whose obsession grew and grew.
Yeah. Right.
And working with Justin,
Right.
flipped out, plans to murder him and then frame another boyfriend. He might not have got caught if he hadn't crashed his car, or at least not as quickly as he was.
I don't even know how he found out how did he even know about Andrew? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How you know about the old boyfriend and the new boyfriend? Andrew talking too much.
Sick man, just not insane sick.
Maybe it could have been Facebook.
But not like rad sick. And a shit driver. Congrats, Dave.
He definitely is a piece of shit driver. He wrecked the shit out of that damn car. That front end was total. I'm like, damn. You know, Ali dropped this today, and I gotta get on over there. I can't watch it. I'm gonna have to catch it on my own time. You know, he copyrighted now. Look, certified, honey. Let me tell you something. When I was watching Ali last year, I believe it was. Go look at my old comments when I told him to chop it up like Vlad. Go on, chop it. Give myself a bad Father's Day. What? What bad? Oh goodness! Look at Ali. Look, 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 look. Forehead, forehead. He's so silly. What did he say? I'll go back and watch it. Because he gonna throw me off. It's True Crime Sunday. I'm not watching no landscaping videos today. Matter of fact, who was we about to get ready to watch? What am I up at? 1:45? Ooh. Ooh, look at Sloan. Oh my god. It's a giraffe. Oh my god, look at Logan over there with the giraffe. Child, look at Sloan. Look, I know that but he still looks yummy. And then look at Logan over there with the giraffe. Oh my goodness. Let me see, who is this? School for boy. Let me swing on over here to Giles real quick, and then we're gonna call it a day. I believe he should get me to that 2 hour mark. And then that'll be my time. And then we'll just, pull up tomorrow for vlog me Mondays.
Schools are typically perceived as a sanctuary for young minds to flourish and prepare for adulthood. Children devote their time and effort to learning, hoping to become the best version of themselves. The responsibility of guiding and nurturing their growth lies with the faculty, who are entrusted to act in the best interest of their pupils. Sometimes, though, the teachers become the enemy.
Ray Gibson. Ray Gibson. Please look at me. All right. I didn't see you in the chat, Ray. So
That was when the Florida State Reform School was first proposed as a place for delinquent young men and women to be sent in order to get themselves under control before they reached full adulthood. With state governor at the time, William Dunnington Bloxham, on the idea. It was just 3 years later, on January 1st, 1900, that the school officially opened its doors for the first time. Initially, things seemed to be going well as, before long, the school had become self-sustaining on account of the manual labor the children were being made to payment on days they weren't in class. When they weren't working or studying, they were being shaped into more law-abiding and ideal citizens by learning to grow their own food, cook their own meals, wash their own clothes, and manufacture their own equipment and tools. But while things may have seemed great on the surface, below that veneer there were some far more sinister acts being carried out. Acts which would eventually become apparent to the state. In fact, over the first 13 years of its existence, the school was investigated no less than 6 times, with one of these inspections revealing that many of the boys there were being kept in leg irons in order to restrain them. For as severe as this seems in modern eyes, it wasn't considered a major story at the time. After all, these were young offenders, and if they were going to be prevented from turning into adult ones, then drastic action would sometimes have to be taken when it came to disciplining them. The first real blow to the school's reputation wouldn't occur until 1914, when a dormitory fire killed at least 6 of the boys staying there. With the local media quickly reporting on the disaster, it wasn't long before there was an increased scrutiny over what was happening at the facility. As one article put it, the kids were living in filth and ignorance, with many of them having contracted incurable diseases during their stay. On top of that, not only were there allegations some of the boys had been sent off to work on private farms against the rules of the school, but it was also suggested that a number of the children had been raped by staff. It was a serious accusation, one which, if true, could have brought about the end of the school. So, perhaps hoping to rebrand themselves and put some distance between the future and the past, later that year the board renamed the school the Florida Industrial School for Boys, with this being the point where it became a male-only establishment. Why male only? Well, maybe the belief behind it was that further sexual assaults seemed less likely to occur in the eyes without women being there. Unfortunately, though, pandemics having no discrimination when it comes to gender, when the Spanish flu hit in 1918, it devastated the school. In fact, records indicate that 99% of the boys there became infected with the virus, with 11 of those dying. A statistically staggering number, which was only helped by the poor conditions, which included lack of drinking water and lights, as well as an inability to remove sewage, which was piling up. This led to further public outcry as, once it became apparent just how poor the conditions had been at the school during the time of the outbreak, there was a strong public desire for reform to be carried out. Thankfully, with their hand now being forced somewhat, the board began enacting changes during the early 1920s, which were designed to improve the general conditions and make it an all-around better place to be. The only problem with that was, for as much as these improvements might have helped at first, by the middle of the decade, a swell of students coming in had raised the population there to around 300, twice what the institution was originally designed to hold. This led to not only severe overcrowding, but a resurrection of abusive methods carried out by teachers in order to keep the children in check. In fact, in 1941, the mother of one of the children staying there publicly accused the school of such actions when she reported her son had been beaten bloody with a 3-inch thick wooden board. But that wasn't even the worst of what was going on because 7 years before that, a 13-year-old boy who'd been sent to the school for trespassing died just 38 days after his arrival. As far as school officials were concerned, though, neither of these incidents represented a failure on their parts. No, the 13-year-old's death had, according to them, nothing to do with any abuse. And as far as the accusations from the other child's mother, well, corporal punishment was still considered to be an effective and acceptable form of discipline at the time. With this being the official statement on the matter, it was clear nothing was going to change anytime soon. That attitude only continued on as Arthur G. Dozier, a teacher at the school, began rising up the ranks to the point he was named director of the institution in 1941. With Dozier now in charge, things only got worse as, during the 40s and 50s, the population swelled to around 900, far more than the staff were capable of caring for. Even hiring more people did little to help at this point, as there were simply too many children to monitor, with this leading to frequent escape attempts and incidents of violence breaking out. Perhaps even more troubling, though, was the fact that, during this period, where managing the kids became harder than ever, there were reports of a number of boys simply disappearing altogether. As far as what had happened to them, well, while it was never confirmed at the time, it was believed by some that the staff had either beaten or worked them to death and then been forced to get rid of the body after the fact. As one student would later put it, he witnessed a boy fall into an industrial clothes dryer and die while trapped there, and when his body was later removed, a laundry room supervisor barked at the rest of the boys in the nearby vicinity, quote, "Another one of you little bastards just bit the dust." Then, on a separate occasion, another survivor of the school reported seeing a boy being beaten, then left to die in a bathtub. And these were the only examples of such abuse happening. Many of the children there had similar stories, stories which they would carry with them for the rest of their lives. With conditions becoming so abysmal, it must have seemed like the ultimate spit in the face when, after leaving the school in 1957, Arthur G. Dozier was heralded as a great and honorable man who had done much good for the community. In fact, so lionized would he be by the state that, in 1967, 10 years after his exit, the school was renamed the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys in his honor. But that did little to help the reputation of the institution in the eyes of many members of the local community because by then, stories of the horrors going on there had become so rife that young men in Florida allegedly lived in fear of being sent to Dozier. And that was despite the fact that the school had regularly tried to integrate itself into the community by doing things like allowing locals to drive through the campus at Christmas time and view the festive lights they had on display. Anyone who was really paying attention could see that this was a little more than a thin smokescreen designed to divert attention away from what was really happening. But with few of the boys living there at the time being willing to speak out about the abuse that was taking place, the whole thing was mostly left to lie in the realm of rumor and hearsay. Why wouldn't they speak up? Well, because, like many victims of abuse, they were too humiliated to do so. And even if they felt no embarrassment over what had happened to them, they often feared reprisal should they dare to talk about what was really going on. After all, it wasn't just beatings they had to worry about. It was the threat of being outright murdered. But even if they weren't saying anything, it didn't stop more from coming to light when, in 1968, then Florida Governor Claude Kirk visited the school and was shocked by the overcrowding and poor conditions he found.
At that point, he was even noted as having said the whistle should have been blown on this situation a long time ago. And as for where the worst of these conditions were found, well, that was in the White House, a concrete block detention building designed specifically for students too unreformable or violent to be held elsewhere. Of course, he had no idea just how bad things were in there, though, because, aside from the poor living conditions found inside, that particular building was feared above all else by the students on account of the many boys who went inside and were never seen again. One child even later recalled being ordered to dig 3 holes behind the chow hall one night. Holes which were, in the words of guards R.W. Hatton and Troy Tidwell, to be 4 feet deep and as long as a boy. While he was never told at the time what the holes were to be used for, it was generally understood by all that they were for the victims of the White House. Yes, inside there, the most savage of beatings took place, and by many accounts, it was Hatton and Tidwell who were the main perpetrators.
You just gotta have the stomach to deal with Giles. The mental fortitude to even sustain these stories. They're so gut-wrenching. It's just like crazy.
Inside the White House, it wasn't just beatings they were carrying out. No, there was also outright sexual assault going on as well. In fact, according to many of the students there who have since spoken out, an underground space in the White House was informally known by staff as the rape room. Not that Governor Kirk was made aware of that at the time, though. As far as he knew, it was just an overcrowded institution with conditions that weren't up to standard. That was why, feeling like reform was needed, he not only helped to ensure the White House was closed down soon afterward, but he also pushed for corporal punishment to officially be outlawed on school grounds, something that eventually happened later that same year. A year after that, partially as a result of the poor job the previous owners had been doing, the school would come under new management again when the Division of Youth Services, a subsection of the Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services, formally took control. Still, though, that wouldn't be the abuse carried out at the Dozier School because in 1982, a further inspection revealed several of the children there were being hogtied and kept in isolation for weeks at a time as a form of punishment. That caused so much of an outcry that it led to the American Civil Liberties Union filing a lawsuit which, combined with other active federal suits concerning conditions at the school, led to the Department of Justice starting to monitor Florida's juvenile justice system in 1987. Of course, by that point, calling Dozier a school for juveniles was starting to stretch the definition of the word. While initially it had only been young men between the ages of 10 and 16 who were allowed to stay there, come the late 80s, people as old as 21 were still a part of the system. According to further reports, which came to light around this time, many of these young men were still being abused. But who was responsible for finally leaking this information to the public? Well, that's where the White House boys come into the story. Towards the end of the millennium, a number of former students of the Dozier School came together to share accounts of the horror stories they either witnessed or were directly subjugated to during their time there. Among these stories were not only incidents of repeated physical abuse and rape, but also of outright murder taking place on grounds. Realizing nothing was going to be done about it unless they did something themselves, under the leadership of Roger Dean Kaiser, they formally organized in 1998 as a group named the White House Boys, a reference to the infamous detention center at the school. As they were starting to speak out publicly about some of the worst tales they'd seen, conditions at the school itself were only continuing to slide. In fact, even after it was officially placed under the management of the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice in 1994, an influx of more violent offenders being brought in only made things worse. Hell, in 2007, some of the abuses taking place there were even caught on camera for the first time when CCTV footage leaked to the media showed 18-year-old Justin Caldwell being grabbed by the throat and slammed backwards onto the ground. With this, combined with the stories the White House boys were reporting to prominent media outlets such as the St. Petersburg Times only increasing the spotlight on the Dozier school, it meant further investigations would be carried out. This led to the acting superintendent of the school, as well as a number of employees, being fired in April of that same year. But that would only be the beginning, because a year later, Florida Governor Charlie Crist directed the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to further investigate allegations of abuse, torture, and murder which had been recounted to him by the White House boys. Like with anything bureaucratic, it would be a slow process, and it wouldn't be until 2010 that a formal report was filed. What did the report say? Well, while 31 graves had been dug at the facility between 1914 and 1952, these had all been officially recorded at the time, and there was no evidence to suggest any of the deaths were caused by staff or that any of the bodies were deliberately concealed. Of course, none of that explained the fact that none of the bodies were exhumed as part of the investigation, something that makes it extremely difficult to determine a cause of death. Was there a reason behind that? Was someone perhaps protecting someone else? That's unclear. But what is clear is that, by that point, the state of Florida was officially acknowledging the abuses that had taken place at the Dozier School for Boys. And as a result, not only would a historic plaque be installed on the site of the White House in remembrance of what had occurred, but in 2009, the school officially failed its annual inspection on the grounds of being unable to move on from a long-standing culture of violence and abuse. That was why, in June of 2011, after plans to merge Dozier School with the Jackson Juvenile Offender Center fell through, the infamous school was closed down and all remaining students were sent to other facilities around the state. While this did give the White House boys and other victims some sense of closure, it didn't allow them any compensation for what they had gone through. No, after having filed a class action lawsuit
Ooh.
the year prior seeking damages against the state government,
Ooh.
they were told it was impossible as the statute of limitations had already run out. Realizing they couldn't let these victims go without anything on account of a technicality, the Florida legislature did introduce a bill in 2012 that provided financial compensation for the victims of the Dozier School. A bill that was finally signed in March of 2014 and authorized up to $7,500 per burial for families who wanted to reinter the remains of their relatives who'd been left in unmarked graves at the school. After failing to dig up the graves during a prior investigation, in 2013, once the full details of what had been occurring came to light, a court injunction was made to force the exhumation of the bodies on site so they could be laid to rest according to their families' wishes. That would begin on August 6th, when a permit was formally issued allowing a team of University of South Florida anthropologists and archaeologists to excavate the grounds. Once there, though, to the shock of everyone, they found a scene far worse than they could have ever imagined as a full 55 graves were discovered.
Exactly.
The image was officially documented by the school.
Bingo.
And of the bodies unearthed at that time, forensic investigation would deem many of them to have died of things like gunshot wounds, blunt force trauma, and even malnutrition. But that wasn't all, because on top of that, it was believed that a second gravesite existed, as by now, potential death for the Dozier School has been unearthed by talking to those who'd attended it. The existence of such a location made perfect sense to those involved in trying to figure out the truth because, with the school being segregated for so many years, a grave site for Black students and a grave site for white students would have been standard operating procedure. As it currently stands, though, the grave site for white students has yet to be officially found. With one half of the victims now seemingly accounted for, It means DNA testing has been able to take place in order to identify any of the bodies who are not documented in Dozier's records. But even that's been a tricky thing to accomplish, especially when so much decomposition has already taken place. To this day, only 7 of the 51 corpses discovered at the Dozier School have been identified, with the ideas of a further 14 being presumed. As for the remaining 30, well, their families will still have to wait for confirmation that their loved ones did indeed die there. And when it comes to the white students' graves, while no official discovery has been made yet, during a pollution cleanup on the site of the former school in March of 2019, a potential 27 further points of interest were stumbled upon. We have to say potential for now because as of the spring of 2023, this new site is yet to be investigated, though under the direction of Florida State Governor Ron DeSantis, movement is being made in that direction. University of South Florida forensic anthropologist Dr. Erin Kimmery, a key part of the original excavation team, has already announced her intentions to return and see if there are indeed more graves there. While everyone waits for this to happen, the story has been kept in the public eye through numerous nonfiction true crime books, such as Roger Dean Kaiser's The White House Boys and Elizabeth A. Murray's The Dozier School for Boys. It's also been fictionalized in the Pulitzer Prize winning 2020 novel The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. We can only hope this keeps the horrors of the Dozier School for Boys at the forefront of people's minds for long enough that those final graves can be unearthed. It's done, we hope any further locations still out there can be found too, as the very least which can be done for the victims now is to give them a proper burial. Sure, it won't make up for the pain and misery they had to endure while enrolled there, and it won't make up for the fact that such acts were allowed to continue for over a century despite there being so many red flags. But once everyone is accounted for and this dark chapter of history can finally be closed, it might at least serve as a reminder that children are our most precious resource, and if we want to succeed as a society, we have to ensure that we take care of them and foster them while they're growing up, not abuse them and treat them like garbage, deserving of being beaten and thrown away.
I told you about that Giles. That's what I was doing in the meantime. I don't even think I got my cap. I still left it. Get his headband break because it is pulsating on my temples. In the meantime, in between time, I'm gonna get on up out of here. 'Cause I gotta be back tomorrow. So you know how this goes. What is that? Oh, I took my socks off. But in the meantime, in between time, appreciate everybody stopping by on this True Crime Sunday. I so appreciate it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. But in the meantime, in between time, okay, love you. Bye.